Welcome to Testing with RK. In this session, we will be discussing classes and objects. Classes and objects are two main aspects of most modern programming languages. They are the main heart of object-oriented programming. So far, we have learned how we can declare variables, primitive data types like integer, string, boolean, and floating values, double. But what if we were to define a data type of our choice? Okay, so let's have a look at this slide. What if we were to define a data type called fruit, and the variables that I wanted to declare were apple, banana, and mango? What if we were to declare a variable data type called car and have the variables of this type? This can be achieved with the help of classes and object. Let's see with an example. Okay, for the purpose of demonstration, what we will do is we will define and declare a class called cars. To create a new class, right click on the project and add new item. It will open up a window and select the cars, and I'm going to name my class as car. Okay, so there we are. That's the class we have. A car, our data type called car, will have so many properties. Okay, a class usually has two type of class members. First one are the fields. Fields are basically your variables. Okay, and then we have something called methods. Both of them together makes the class. For the purpose of our example, we are going to have string make, so make of the car, the model of the car, color of the car, and the type. So type is basically hatchback, SUV, sedan, and so forth. We will also have a field called price, so this is the cost of the car. We will have double engine size, so this is like 2 liter turbo or 2 liter or 1.6 liter kind of details. Let's think of the methods that we can have for a car. A car usually, what are the operations that we can do on a car? First one, start the car. Okay, stop the car, and brake. That's a pretty important feature. So these are the fields and these are the methods. What we are going to do in our example is that we are going to create a class called car. This will become our own data type, and we are going to instantiate or create the objects of this particular data type, and we will see how we are going to set the values for it. Okay, so here we are, class car. The first thing we have is string make, model, color, and type. Then we have double price and engine size. Okay, the methods that we are going to have for this is public void start, public void stop, and public void break. All these methods are the operation that we can perform on our particular car. You would notice that the methods have a return type called void. Void is a return type, which basically what it means is nothing. So this particular method is not going to return anything. Okay, so public start, and I will say car, and then I'm going to say braking. We also need a method to set the values for these variables. So we are going to say public void set car specs. Okay, what I need in here is that I need string make model, model color, string type, double price, and double engine size. Okay, then we are going to say this dot make equals to make, this dot model is equals to model. What this does is that this particular keyword is actually making this variable. So we have make coming from parameter, but we also have make as a global variable here. So what this will make sure is that this variable is coming, the value that is going to be stored in this particular make is actually this make. Okay, make color equal to color, this dot type equals to type, this dot price equals to price, this dot engine size is equals to engine size. Okay, we will also create another method to print the car spec, get car spec. Okay, we don't have to define any variables here, don't need to have any parameters here. What we simply are going to do is we are going to have make model of the car, we are going to have the color, type of the car, price of the car, and then engine size. So what we have done here is that we have defined a class. We have in the class we have fields. Fields are basically the variables. These variables are the one that defines the property of this particular class. So make of the car, model of the car, color, type, price, and engine. Then we have methods to set the values of these properties of the car. So we have a method called set car spec, which we have to supply all these values. Then we have a method to get the make, model, color, and all these values. Then we have some methods here which will perform some sort of operation on our object. So when we say start the car, so it's performing some sort of a method here to, and then saying starting a car. So this was the class declaration and definition. How do we consume it now? So if I go back to my program here, I'll say classes and object. If I remember now, so to define, to create, remember in the case of our integer or double, we were saying int x is equals to 10. At this point, what was happening was a variable x was being created, and it was storing a value called 10. But in the cases of classes and in cases of objects, what we have to do is we have to define the data type, so much like our primitive data type, and I say Volvo is the name of my variable here. To create a new object, we are going to use a keyword called new, okay, and then Volvo, then followed by car, which is the name of the class, and the parenthesis. What this will do is this will create a variable called Volvo, which is of type car. Now if I do that, I can see all the methods that we have defined are coming from the car. So remember the break, start, stop, set the car specs, and get the car specs. What we will do is we will set the car specs for our car, and okay, so the first is make, which is Volvo, model S60, color black, type saloon, price 20,000, and the engine size, I would say, oops, that's wrong, it's a double, 20,000, and engine size I would say 2.2. okay, so what this method is going to do is that this will set the specs of the car with these values. What we are going to do then is we will get the spec of the car, the one we have set just now, so that will print all the specification of the car on the console. We will start the car, we will test for brake, and then we will also stop the car once we are done. Okay, so let's save and build and run it, and we can see what it has done is it is saying starting car Volvo S60 black saloon 20,000 2.2, starting car, braking, and stopping car. Those were the methods. Okay, so now we know we have created an object called Volvo. Similarly, I can create an object called BMW and do the same thing, new BMW. I can do the same thing with Mazda. I can do the same thing with Audi. Sorry, it has to be the class name, not. So what this will do is this will create an object called BMW, Mazda, Audi, and Volvo. Basically what is happening is let me open up PowerPoint. So what is happening here is that insert, where is the insert operation here? Shapes. Object. They are yeah. Okay, so basically what is happening is we have our class here. Okay, this is our class called car. Okay, when we have defined the new operation, what happens is it creates a new object in the memory. Okay, and they become an individual object. So that's the new corporation, and here this is Volvo, this is Mazda, BMW, and Audi. These are the objects of this particular class. Every time we define new, it creates this particular objects in the memory. They are independent, they are not dependent on each other. Okay, so if I change any of the parameters, if I change any of the properties of this particular object, it will not affect it. So what I mean by that is that if I was to create, so for example, if I was to create a property of change the value of BMW properties, set the car spec for BMW, okay, set car specs. I'm just going to copy this value here and say BMW 1 Series black saloon, and so on and so forth. If I change any of the value of this particular BM, it will not affect the Volvo. They are totally two different objects altogether. Okay, so the moment I say new, it creates a new object in the memory, and each object has its own individual properties. So which are, this particular object has its own so this has make, model, engine size, and so forth, so on and so. Similarly, Mazda will have its own properties as well, BMW will have its own property, and Audi will have its own property. And that's it. That's about classes and object. In the next session, we will be exploring more about classes and object. Thank you very much for joining me in this session, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.